This is lesson 2 in our discussion of working with images, and this lesson deals with SmartArt. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to insert, edit, and manipulate SmartArt to enhance the appeal of your documents. SmartArt is Microsoft's editable diagram format introduced in Office 2007. SmartArt works in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. Here, of course, we will be looking at the version in Microsoft Word. However, the three versions in the applications are very similar. So, this is the same document we've been working on over the past 5 or 6 lessons, and I've pulled it up as we left it off last time with the 3 images in the text. So I'm going to scroll down to page 3 here, and you're going to notice I have 2 new interesting looking things on page 3 over here and page 4. These are SmartArt graphics. If you've never seen them before, you might think, it just looks like an image. They can be manipulated with the same position and wrapping features of an image. However, there are several differences. As I said a moment ago, it is Microsoft's editable diagram format. So if I were to click on one of these, notice over here we have a box that pops up that says type your text here, and I can type in what I want for each level of my pyramid. This example is a pyramid. There's about 115 styles. I'll show you how to insert one in a moment, but this is one of the styles of the basic pyramid. Over here I have the text cycle. Now for each graphic, each SmartArt, there are several styles and different ways that it can be formatted. You can change the color. There's lots of options. So this is the stages of learning, and there are 3 stages of learning, and so there's 3 levels of my pyramid. So once I select a SmartArt graphic, I get 2 new contextual tabs, the Design tab and the Format tab. So we'll start on the Design tab, and we will see over here in the Create Graphic group, we can turn this text pane on and off by clicking here or by clicking up here. We can type, if we want, directly into the on the graphic if we want, like you saw there. I changed the application to applications, but most people find it easier to actually type over here. Now if I want to add a shape, I can add shapes out to the left or out to the right like that, or I can have multiple levels. I can also add a bullet, click add bullet, and add a level. Notice it pretty much did the same thing as add shape. Different graphics have these options will have different effects, as I'll show you in a moment. Like on the pyramid, clicking right to left, oops, I didn't mean click out it. Clicking right to left has no effect. But over here on my text cycle, right to left switches the arrows. Notice it switches the arrows, the direction of the arrows. So the options change depending on the graphic. Now notice here, I can't add a bullet because this graphic, this cycle, cannot have multiple levels. So I can't add a bullet. Now I can add a shape, which is just here, another bullet. I cannot add levels. So the options change depending on the graphic. I have a layout for each SmartArt. Once I insert it, the basic one I choose, I have a layout gallery and a style gallery. So I have various layouts for my SmartArt. Now the number of options you have depend on the graphic. Notice here for the text cycle I have 5, 10, 15, 17 different options. For pyramids I have exactly 4 options. So the number of options you have in the layout gallery depends on the graphic you choose. Over here in the styles gallery I have some best matches, and then I have some 3D. Now over here for pyramids you'll see I have a few more styles, and as I point to them I get a preview of what they look like, and I just happen to choose the brick scene. On the exam, as we talked about with images, if you are asked to change a style or a layout, the layout or style will be given in the instructions by name. I can also change the colors here. I can point to the various options, and you will see each option has a name. So if you're asked to change the color on the exam, as with the style, as with the layout, you'll be asked to change it, and it'll be by name, and you will just point to the various options to find the tooltip that matches the name you were given. On the Format tab, we can change the shape of an individual pyramid piece if we wanted to, from functional to silly. We can change each individual piece. We can recolor each individual piece. We can add a fill, outline, and effects to each individual piece, and we can do word art. So we have many options on our SmartArt. So anything that can be done to text can be done to SmartArt as well. Now the reason this is popping out is I've got Edit in 2D turned on. So when I click one of the levels to edit, it pops it out where it's not in the 3D, where it's not in the rotated in 3D. But when I click out, notice it goes back to its 3D. So I'm going to undo this and bring that back to the way I had it. Okay, so also under Format we have the same position and wrap text options we had for images, because SmartArt graphics are editable, but they're still images. Now I can't wrap text around a level of the pyramid. My wrap text options are only available when I have the entire pyramid selected, and those same options, just like with an image, appear right here. So if I were to take this here and paste it up in my document, let's say right here, notice it put it up here by itself on page 2 by itself. Now if I click here and look at my various layout options, the same options I had with images I have with SmartArt. So here I've put the SmartArt to the right, or the SmartArt to the left, and the text to the right. Now I can resize the graphic by using the resize handle, just like I could with an image. So these options here are identical to what you'll find with images. Let me drag this over here. Now I can also place it using the position. So I have the same options I have here that I do with images. So on the exam, if you're asked to place a SmartArt graphic, these buttons here, these options for horizontal and vertical, work identically to the way they did when I showed you this dialog box on the image. The text wrap and position are identical between SmartArt or images. So let's look at some various things here. First of all, let's remove this. Remove this out of my document so my document goes back to the way it was. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to switch my view to one page and zoom in to 100% so we can check out another thing with images. I didn't talk about this in the last section, but I'll talk about it here, and I'm actually going to zoom in more so we can see this. This is the caption. Image, SmartArt, any graphic can have a caption. So here I've given credit to where I got this from. This came from a research study done in 2000, and this is the author's name, and he called it the Learning Pyramid. Now, to insert a caption, we right click, insert caption. Now on my caption here I can change various things. So we'll call this figure 1 the text cycle, C-Y-C-L-E, the text cycle. And notice I now have my caption. Now once the caption is inserted, I can edit it. It's just text. I can edit it. Now if I move my graphic, notice the caption comes along with it. So let me resize my thing here, smaller. So it is editable text, but it's also grouped text. Never mind. It is editable text, but I've just proved myself wrong. It is not grouped text. So as I move this around, the caption may or may not come with it. If I want to get rid of the caption, I can just do this, and then I'll have another option to add insert caption. Each image can only have one caption associated with it. You may ask, well, why would I want to use that option? I can just type down here and say figure 1, the text cycle, and accomplish the same thing. The reason why is, and we'll talk about this when we do reference sites in a later lesson, here we can actually insert a table of figures and actually create basically a table of contents for all the graphics we have in our document with captions. So let's go back to insert. Let's look at SmartArt. So we have categories, and within categories we have various SmartArt styles. So all just shows us all grouped, or we can click a particular one, get a preview on the right hand side, and get a nice detailed description of why this particular SmartArt would be used. So let's go down here and let's insert one last SmartArt. Let's go to SmartArt. We'll look at relationship. Nope, we'll look at let's see, hierarchy. We'll do an organizational chart. So at the top we have the CEO. Under him we have the CFO, let's say. Then we have VP1. It's not VOP. We have VP number 1, VP number 2, and VP number 3. Notice the text automatically resizes based on what I type. So if I type Vice President of Marketing and Sales, notice the text is resized in all of the boxes. So if I make a long entry in one of the boxes, the text will be resized so the text is of uniform size throughout all the boxes. So if I were just type some garbage text in here, you will see everything is made tiny to match, so the text is uniform. The text of one box will not be bigger than the text in another box. Now you ask, can I change that? So if I change here and say 32, notice I can individually change the text of CEO to make it bigger. But by default, unless I go in and manually change it, the text size will be uniform throughout the graphic to the size of the entry with the largest amount of text. Now this SmartArt has multiple levels on it. So if I go over here, right to left, I can actually, what side do I want CFO on and what side do I want the bottom on? So I can rotate here. Now under Vice President, I can demote it and I can create someone under Vice President. So under VP1 we have Senior Management of Tech Services. I don't know. So we can have that. Now under this we could have yet another level. So under this we have somebody else. And here we have Tech Employees, let's just say. So we can make these diagrams as complex as we want. Now of course to resize it I can drag this to make it bigger. So there's SmartArt in a nutshell. I will have an exercise in the supplementary materials for you to create SmartArt on your own and insert it into the document we've been working on in the past couple of lessons.